He's lived his life throwing balls for, for
Master
for
balls.
half a decade. He's been fondling balls, and it's time.
Now, Devstream 131 has just ended, and there was a lot of information in it, a lot for us to get through. We got a look at the Ember rework, Vaubans rework, another look at Grendel, Kuva Lich, which is coming up sometime later this year, Melee 3.0. They spoke about cross-save, which is something that they are looking at and hoping to implement at some point in the future, but they are at the early stages of that. We know that Nightwave ends on October the 13th, so you need to use all of your credits before that, and that the next Nightwave will be an intermission that starts a week after that, so that you will have a week of downtime in between. We know that Empyrean will drop in 3 different updates: Dry Dock, Take Flight and Find Answers, so each will have their own update attached to those. Dry Dock is a clan based one with maybe an event tied to it. Take Flight kind of, I guess, explains itself, where we finally get to take to the stars, and the Find Answers one is, who knows what that is, lore based or quest based. We won't know until we get into the ship ourselves. Now, Ember's rework, we got a first look at this. Now, her new passive, Ember, will gain more ability strength based on how many enemies are on fire around her in a 10-meter radius, which is really not a big radius, but hopefully mods will affect this, but I can't see that happening since it's a passive and not an actual ability. She will gain a 5% power strength increase per enemy with no cap on the increase amount as of yet, so she can infinitely scale. I guess you could have 200, 300, 400% if you had enough enemies around you, which would be an insane amount of enemies, so she will scale her damage pretty damn high with this new passive. Her fireball is staying more or less the same, but has better casting animations to allow you to spam it if needed. She has 2 new abilities. Her second and third ability are brand new. Her second ability is called Immolation, which has its own bong-shaped meter above the energy bar. This gives Ember a 50% damage reduction at base, but when you increase the meter, it will increase her damage reduction. So it starts at 50% and will increase once that meter goes up. If you're not careful and you max out her immolation meter, then she will lose all of her energy and explode in an AoE nuke, in an area of effect nuke, hopefully wiping out enemies nearby you. But the full energy drain is something that they're still working on in the dev build, and feel that maybe as it is right now, draining all of your energy is too high of a penalty. So hopefully they will reduce that quite a bit. It is a bit high. Casting other abilities will increase this meter. I think Scott said 2 casts of Ember's World on Fire will almost max out your immolation meter. Her new Fire Blast ability, however, will drain this meter back down, so you have a way to keep the meter balanced. You will have to manage her immolation meter to not lose energy but keep her damage reduction up. I guess you have to think of Gauss. Imagine if Gauss exploded when his meter was full, you know, leg stuck to one wall, head stuck to the ceiling, arm stuck to the other side. You get the idea. Now, her new Fire Blast ability, like I said, is an instant cast with no duration tied to it. It's a crowd control ability mixed with armor stripping, so enemies hit by her Fire Blast will be knocked down and have their armor stripped. I'd imagine, and I'm only guessing here, that more power strength in your build will mean more armor stripped, but I guess we'll see once we get our hands on her update. Her new World on Fire is no longer an energy draining ability. It's duration based, but it works completely different. It drops huge meteors onto enemies in front of you and sets them on fire in a radius around the impact. But also enemies on fire, if they choose to run around, will spread the base of impact, will spread that fire and increase the effect of it. Now, on top of Ember's rework and the way that all of these enemies are going to be on fire, they have also said that they are reworking how heat procs work in game, and I think I seen someone tweeting to Scott quite a while ago about heat being the worst effect in the game and how it could be fixed, and it looks like he listened. So whoever that was, thanks a bunch, because they are allowing heat procs to now strip armor, melt it off, but they don't know whether to make this a permanent armor strip or not. So I guess if she's already stripping armor with her Fire Blast ability while also setting enemies on fire with World on Fire or with her fireball, then she's going to be stripping extra armor. So I would imagine she could be a really good armor stripping Warframe to bring with you in a squad. Next rework up is Vauban's rework. His passive is staying the same, but should work better now based off the new way his abilities will control enemies. Vauban's new number 1 ability is a rolling Tesla ball like the Grenier Latchers that follows you around and latches onto enemies and then shocks them or stuns them. If you choose to hold this ability down when you're casting it, then Vauban will juggle his balls before throwing 4 Tesla balls onto the ground in total. Vauban is still going to have Mine Layer. I know a lot of players don't like Mine Layer and were hoping it would be removed, but his mines have now changed. One of them is a tether, which pulls enemies in and sticks them to the ground, completely removing them from the battlefield. And his second mine is a form of a turret that shoots at nearby enemies. Honestly, this looked more like a firecracker than a turret. His third ability is a speed boost or zoom pad, which is like what you would see in Mario Kart, but it's a bit of a trolly ability right now, and they are trying to work on this to remove that trolling element before it goes into public missions. His fourth is a mine that gives you a damage amplifier. This will stick to you the minute you throw it down, and it will give you a damage boost, but other players can also pick it up and gain that same increase to damage, while also having a bubble around you if it's stuck to you, and nearby teammates will also gain that damage boost. So it's a damage boosting mine. His new third ability is basically the one we seen Scott tweeting about, which was the aerial strike. This literally calls down a high damage dealing orbital strike. So this was added to give Vauban a decent amount of damage output. This strike has a decent width to it as well. It's extra thick. Now we're being told that this orbital strike will scale off of the level of enemies around where it's about to hit. So it will do high amounts of damage to higher level enemies, and then if you're up against lower level enemies it will scale back down as well. Now his fourth ability is, it's basically Bastille mixed with his Vortex, his old third and fourth. Single cast is the Bastille, and a hold down cast turns it into a Vortex. You can transform your Bastille into a Vortex if you want to, or when Bastille runs out, when its timer runs out the duration, it will collapse into a Vortex for a few seconds. Enemies caught inside the Bastille will have their armor stripped as well, so he's going to be another armor stripping Warframe like what Ember is, and when you have them sucked into a vortex you can then drop the orbital strike down on top of them. So like I said, he has armor stripping, a damage boost from his mine, you've got the crowd control from the tether mine or from his Bastille and Vortex, as well as the orbital strike that will deal a lot apparently of scaling damage. Again, we're going to have to see how he plays out once we get our hands on that rework. Now Grendel, okay, our big old chunky boy, the meatball, the fat boy, will be coming in a mainline update along with Ember's rework, with Vauban's rework, and with the new Exilus mod slots for weapons as we seen during the dev stream as well. But also with his big kebab melee mace, which spins right round baby right round. Its real name is the Masseter, but it's forever going to be known as the kebab. Okay, that's it. It's done. It's the kebab. And like I said, it's also coming in that update. Apparently, Grendel, during the dev build, had the ability to eat whole, exterminate mission loads of enemies, as well as eating up Lephantis, but I expect that's fixed by now, which is a shame. Imagine being able to eat a boss and then take him to Cetus, spit him out in front of Konzu. Here's your early lunch now, old man. Have a big infested boss, as Lephantis then gobbles him up. Now, we got another look at the upcoming end game Kuva Lich system that they've showed off a few times. And this time they showed off some of the randomly generated Lich bosses who take powers related to Warframes, or the Warframe who generates them by killing them the first time around, before they eventually get pumped full of Kuva to turn them into a Lich. Now this system is basically the Nemesis system. Think Shadows of Mordor. These guys are going to keep coming back every time you kill them, and with new abilities, new powers, and stronger and more powerful. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, so they say, hopefully. Also, each one of these Kuva Lich will rank up over time and have their own weapons, their own signature weapons tied to them, with certain bonuses on those weapons, and these weapons will be a higher grade than any of the weapons we currently have in game. So I guess think more damage, mod capacity, special elemental damage, and so on. So you're going to have to kill these Kuva Lich enemies eventually to get your hands on that weapon. It's a unique weapon. And I guess if you're going to have a lot of randomly generated enemies, then there could be an almost unlimited amount of weapon variations and bonuses being added with these liches. Now these weapons won't give you mastery rank. Eventually, after you're done killing these liches, you can get the option to turn them into a follower who will have the chance to spawn into your missions and help you out. So when you need them the most, is what they said, in a mission, these Kuva Lich followers will randomly spawn in and help you out. But these liches also have traits or fears. One of the randomly generated enemies that they showed on the screen had a bad balance or a tendency to fall over. One was fearful. I think they said that one was afraid of babies. You get the idea. Kind of like the traits you've seen on the floofs with the enormous genitals. Now, we got a look at the star chart and how these Kuva Liches will have followers who take over certain mission nodes that you will need to clear out in order to hunt these Kuva Liches down. Eventually, you will need to use the Data Blade or the Assassin's Creed Blade that we've seen at TennoCon in order to kill these Kuva Liches outright with a finisher. Now, we were also told that Melee 3.0 and some of the Empyrean updates will be coming in a separate mainline update later on this year, after the one with the Ember, Vauban, I think maybe Grendel as well, all coming in that one. There is a new vampiric Kavat being released as well, but they hinted at the only way we're going to be able to get your hands on this one is going to have something to do with your own Kavat interacting with the vampiric one, which only comes out at night. So I'm guessing your Kavat has to get the good old suck from the vampiric one in order for you to be able to have that vampiric one. Now, they also quickly spoke about or lightly touched on veteran burnout in the game, and they were asked, how do you keep players interested in playing your game for years, or how do you intend to keep those players playing it for another few years to come? And they said that they intend more changes, more surprises, bringing players out of their comfort zone, and how maybe the Kuva Liches will be hopefully something that brings that challenge that players are looking for, along with the hunt for those Kuva Liches unique weapons with Empyrean on top of that, and then you've got the new war later on to come as well. So like I said, they kind of just briefly touched on it. Honestly, the best way to deal with burnout, take little breaks. They were asked about what they think the most valid criticism of the game is right now this year, and they believe it to be the lack of content, which again they said they are working on, because the first half has been about reworks and remasters and the likes, but the second half of the year will be about content like the Lich system and Empyrean. So fingers crossed, because right now it's the feckin' Sahara when it comes to content for veterans. Now, Melee 3.0 is something they've spoken about quite a lot for the last year, 2 years, however long it's been. And they said that it's going to start rolling out in parts as well, starting with the stances at the end of this month, with a lot of the melee stances to be worked on and completely changed up. They also mentioned the combo meter changes will probably roll out later on. After those, you can expect a higher damage amount from your melee weapons with these changes. And they said that channeling is still being looked at, with the channeling mods that we have right now being completely revamped in order to fit into that Melee 3.0. We're almost there, okay? We're almost at the end of it. Exilus mods for weapons, like I said earlier, are coming very, very soon. I think they're coming with that mainline update with Ember and all of that. It's going to be basically a utility slot for your primary and secondary weapons only until Melee 3.0 gets fully added. Then melee weapons will get it as well. So it's like having an Exilus slot on your weapons, which will mean putting more Forma in your favorite weapons right now in order to fit those Exilus mods in. I guess you can look at them as attachments that could increase your ammo count, your magazine size, silence certain weapons, and so on. Depends on what they determine our Exilus mods to be. So like I said, that's coming later this month. They are also adding in the ability for extra configuration slots. So 6 in total. Configuration A, B and C will become configuration A, B, C, D, E and F. And this is also being added to your fashion configurations as well. So you'll have 6 of those in total. However, these extra configurations will cost you platinum. Now, there is going to be a new bat themed ephemera coming with a Halloween event, a survival one at the end of the month, We got another look at the Titania Deluxe skin, which looks really nice if you enjoy Titania, but she will have a few small tweaks coming with that deluxe skin. Her Razorflies will be able to pick up her tributes for you as well, and her Thorns tribute is being changed to give her damage reduction and not just damage reflection. So that's basically Devstream 131 in a nutshell. Lots of rework talk and of course lots shown off in regards to the Kuva Lich system. Let me know what you liked the sound of or didn't. Do me a huge favour, hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, or don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Warframe, and always, thanks very much for watching. Nearly said feck off though.